Looks like the gun is loaded, the trigger has been pulled. Insidious Chill's discard effects are on the table here. That's the game, folks.
Andrew, of course, is going to activate creepers.
Green light, come on in, Sonata Arcanics.
Oh, here we go, Sonata. Are we pitching into it? Looks like we are.
We are. And now Andrew just has to go, all right.
All right, the moment of truth. We've got attack, attack, non-attack, non-attack. Wow.
Oh, God.
Oh. If Porter's got the zero go again in hand, I think this is game. And it's a rabble.
It's a ravenous rabble.
Good evening, fight fans. Welcome to the FAB Team Cup Championship round. This is it. This is for all the marbles. We were at 32 teams, and now we are down to just 2, and they are going to face off in a best-of-5 series here this evening, and only one can walk away. I am Patrick Shaw. You know me from the combat chain, and next to me is Andy Modell. Andy, say hello.
Hey everybody. Hey Pat. It's a very exciting night tonight.
It is. Doesn't get any better than championship flesh and blood. And we'd like to thank Fab Foundry for putting this tournament on together. If you go to their website, fabfoundry.co, you can get a discount, a 10% discount on singles if you type in the code TEAMCUP10. Over on their website. They've been taking care of this the tournament and the participants all season long, and they'll be providing the prize support and the chic playmat to the winners at the conclusion here. So Andy, we've been doing this for a bit now. We're down to 2 teams. Tell us a little bit about how we got here.
Yeah, it's been a very exciting set of weeks. This has been going on now. We had the group stages. We had all 32 teams put into a few groups. Everyone had 4 teams in the group. And after a round robin of all of that, 2 teams from each group ended up making it into our top 16. From there, we had our bracket going on with our top 16, quarterfinal, semifinal, and this week the finals. Our 2 teams in the finals, we have the Runaways, who at the top 16 beat Team Chuab, beat in the quarterfinal Gin and Tunic, and in the semifinal last week beat out Indie Arsenal. We also have Team Gold, and they, at the beginning of the group of the bracket, ended up beating out the Hyperloops, the winner of the previous 2 team leagues. Then they ended up beating Team Belgium in the quarterfinal and Team Blue Pitch in the semifinal. So this final, the Runaways, a primary US-based team against Team Gold over in Hong Kong, we got some of the best players around, and these are going to be a bunch of very exciting games.
And I can't wait to get started here. The production truck is in my ear, and are we about ready to fire off the first game? And the first game tonight is going to be a FAB mirror, and it's going to feature Dan Rakowski from Team Runaways versus Bun R from Team Gold. The FAB mirror is always an interesting one, Andy. What do you think about it?
Yeah, the FAB mirror, I think it's one that I've definitely played a lot more in Limited than I have in Classic Constructed. But basically, these 2 decks like to deal damage and deal damage fast. So trying to make sure that you can get the other person down before they get you, and hopefully just being able to outperform them. Key cards, Art of War, the more of those you get early, the better the chance you have of winning. It can be a very exciting game. My ProQuest last weekend, the final was a FAB mirror, and it was a doozy to watch.
Excellent. Dan Rakowski, known the world over as one of the foremost FAB experts here. Recently, just putting out a primer on YouTube on the Runaways channel, something to check out there. But even as an expert there, variants and all those fun things happen in that kind of FAB mirror. There's no guarantee that even the even the best at the hero will walk away unscathed here.
Yeah, at my locals, I hear people, some of the FAB players talking about it. Are they playing Dan's national list, Dan's world list or something in between. So clearly, Dan is the gold standard. At the same time, Bun, who I believe won not this year, but last year's Hong Kong National Championship, and he ended up winning with a chain list that was inspired by Michael Fang's. So Fang didn't end up winning US, Bun took the list, won Hong Kong. So over here, if it's a mirror, maybe Dan didn't win the US. Bun, will he beat Dan to win in the Team Cup? We'll have to find out.
And just checking in with my production truck here.
Yep, sounds like the game's going to be up in just a moment. Very excited, looking forward to it. And as soon as it gets faded in, we will begin.
And we are off. We should be here. So Dan Rakowski, Disc Golf Dan, will be on the right in red, and Bun will be on the left in blue. I think one of the most important and interesting aspects is going to be the equipment selection here in the FAB mirror. Who's playing Lynx if someone chooses to play Mask of Momentum. We've seen lots of Blaze and Yoris start to make the rounds here. It'll be interesting to see what kind of chess pieces being played, and of course how many flames they'll be kind of stocking up today.
Yeah, some lists have decided that one Phoenix Flame is enough. Other lists have decided, they really do want the additional ones. The choice of the headpiece, Mask of Momentum, potentially causing blocks in the middle of chains, or Mask of the Pouncing Lynx, being able to grab that high damage finisher at the end, or a Belittle if you need the extra resources from a Minimism. Both of them very powerful headpieces, very interesting choices. What's best in the mirror? Let's let these pros tell us.
Yeah, 100%. And even though it is kind of a fast-paced game, as we've seen, Rakowski's strategy has been kind of adopted around, and there's still a prevalence of cards like E-Strike and Command and Conquer, some manipulation with Belittles to get the extra resources you might have. It can turn into a bit more of a mid-range game than I think most people might expect.
Yeah, a lot of these decks, when you're playing the mirror, the strategy is completely different than against every other matchup. We'll have to see how this particular game of FAB goes once these players finish up their sideboarding.
Yep, very interested in the equipment selections, and it does look like we're going to speed it up a little bit here to get to the action. And here we are. All right, so we see Dan Rakowski sporting the Mask of Momentum, the Blazing Yori that I was just talking about, Snapdragon Scalers, and the Tiger Stripe Shuko with the Ember Blade as his weapon. The flame is in the graveyard. And Bun sporting Mask of Momentum, the Dragon Scale, Flame Scale Furnace, Tiger Stripe Shuko, and Snapdragons.
Yeah, the main choice between these two chest pieces, with the Blazing Yuri, you can get potentially more value just on a single block number-wise. If you want to block for 5 at the end of a chain for a Lava Burst, that's 5 life from one equipment. Flamescale Furnace, it blocks for 2 and then 1, so only 3, but sometimes the FAB deck presents things like Snatch, presents things like a Mounting Anger, and it has those breakpoints where being able to block 2 of those for 1 or 2 damage might end up preventing an on-hit and be better overall. So an interesting choice, both of them likely good options. We'll have to see how they're played out in this game. It looks like,
it does look like Bun is going first. And is playing a Rise from the Ashes, bringing a Phoenix Flame to hand. Next Ninja or Draconic Attack gets +3. And then we see a red Rising Resentment. So this is going to come in for 6 go again with an on hit of being able to banish a 0 cost card. It's less than Draconic Links on the chain. Banishing a 0 cost card and giving it, making it cost 1 less. Not very relevant at the moment here, but still coming in strong for 6 go again.
Yeah, 6 go again, nothing to shake a stick at. When you're on turn 0 with FAB, you really want to be able to push that damage over. 6 damage right here with 2 cards left in hand and the Phoenix Flame. Dan only has 4 4 cards he can block with, so definitely a potential of dealing some damage against that 40 life right at the beginning here, turn 0.
Yeah, Fi seems to kind of subvert that, turn 1, turn 2, or, turn 0, turn 1, like tempo type strategy by being able to leak a lot of damage, even going first if you have the right hand in front of him. We do see Rakowski coming in for blocking 5. With Blazing Headlong, a 2-block, and a red Soul Bead Strike. We do see an Ancestral Empowerment buffing the Rising Resentment to 7 and getting drawing a card as part of the resolution of the play of the reaction.
Yeah, so it's just an extra damage. Bun gets that card in his hand. It could be something more powerful. It could be something less. But just early on like this, the Ancestral Empowerment ekes a little bit more damage through and just helps at that chip away on this early turn.
Yeah, seeing that Blaze Headlong is kind of foreshadowing that perhaps there's more 2 blocks in hand. So it does look like Bun will have the potential to really do some real damage here, even at turn 0. We do see the blue pitch followed by the Searing Emberblade coming in for 3 go again. Rising Resentment is draconic, so it does have the go again activated here.
Yeah, and Dan just taking all 3 of that damage, bringing him down to 35. Bun still has a Phoenix Flame and 1 unknown card in his hand.
Yep, and I think already this turn has been, you have to think that Bun thinks this turn is a success, leaking 5 damage through without having any other interactions happening in the game. Is going to be a solid start, and the turn's not over.
Yeah, Mask of Momentum in play makes this very interesting. Already, Bun has hit Dan twice with 2 chain links in a row. So if this next attack does damage, then it's going to give Bun an extra card draw. Looks like Dan kept 2 cards in hand, specifically so he could block and prevent that. And here he's just blocking that Phoenix Flame for 1 with a Ronin Renegade for 2.
Yep, almost obligatory at that point. We do see that Bun keeps the card in his hand and puts it into Arsenal. Phoenix Flame goes into the graveyard, sets it aside for easier access, and we'll be drawing up, and we'll go to Dan down 5 points before being able to play a card. 5 points of life, starting at 35 essentially here. See if he can bounce back.
Yeah, it's a bit of life, but now Dan is going to gain potentially some tempo if Bun chooses to block some of these attacks. Going first, of course, you get to draw up, and your opponent also gets to draw up. So Dan on the second, he'll draw up at the end of his turn, but I'm sure all of you viewers already know that. Interesting is that Bun began with that Rise from the Ashes. Usually it's a better card when you have 2 Phoenix Flames available already, so having it with only the 1 flame cut off what could have potentially been even more damage on a powerful turn. But turn 0, that's fun here.
And we see the Belittle coming out, pitching the Art of War. We do see a Ronin Renegade being revealed. So a red Belittle, a red Ronin Renegade, presumably a blue Minnowism. The Art of War being pitched with 1 float, and there's the blue Minnowism. Interesting, the dynamics between the Mask Momentums and their chess pieces here. I think Bun does have a bit more of an opportunity to stifle a Mask Momentum trigger with a reusable chess piece, as opposed to the Blazing Yori's kind of one-time use there. That both their values at this point almost comparable, depending on the situation. And we do see the Ronin Renegade follow-up that was just revealed coming in for another 3 go again.
Yeah, it seems like Blazing Yori might be a bit better against Mask of the Pouncing Lynx. But over here, the thing that I think is most noteworthy is Dan having to pitch that Art of War. Art of War giving you those big bonuses on your turns can be so pivotal in the Phi Mirror. And Dan's basically saying, okay, this one, I'm not going to get that for a while. He's trying to put the pressure on now, needing those resources to deal some damage. Chainlink 3 coming in here, using that Searing Emberblade. So if that hits, it won't trigger the Mask of Momentum.
Yep, Mask Momentum is the 3rd attack if it is an attack action, the 3rd attack in a row if it's an attack action. The weapon does not count, so he would have to connect with this and attack a fourth time with the on hit. Yeah, pitching the Art of War is interesting. It's kind of the telltale sign that he had otherwise an all red hand, and that he felt would be better served coming out and attacking. He does get that blue minnowism after the fact, but I think trying to get that card in the first place would be kind of a pain.
Yeah, Bun looking like he's going to choose to block this over here, taking his time, cards overhand. Really, though, the on-hit isn't here. It just comes down to Bun figuring out what he wants to do on his turn, and how many of those are worth the value of blocking. Searing Emberblade, it's 3 damage. The previous 2 attacks were also 3 damage. So a very interesting time to be taking this thoughts.
Yeah, historically, I don't think it'd hit 6th chain link on this particular turn here, but Bun definitely contemplating, and there it is. All right, so he is going to take the damage, and we do see the Lava Burst follow-up. It is the 4th chain link on the combat chain, so Rupture is activated and gets a +3 coming in for 5. It is targetable by Shuko, but it does not look like it is. Another 2 base attack has been played, so it doesn't get the value off Shuko this turn.
Yeah, if Dan had used a Phoenix Flame earlier, then it would have gotten the bonus, but Dan made the decision he's going to get Bun to block with 2 cards if he doesn't want the mass trigger, rather than if he played that easy block and then the Lava Burst would just be damage.
You think that if he leaves this open, he uses Snapdragons right now?
Oh, I'm confident. If Dan's going to draw a card, he's using Snapdragons. He's got 2 resources floating. He can still activate Phi's ability for free now to get a Phoenix Flame. So if there's a card draw, that potentially extends by 2 additional cards. And I don't think there's anything in the deck that you can't play with these resources.
That's a very good point. And we do see the Lava Vein and the Ancestral. So that is a 6 total block, 3 blocks coming in. Taking all the damage from Lava Burst, so preventing the Mask Momentum trigger. Oh, but we still see the Snapdragons coming out, so it looks like he'll still try to get a Phoenix Flame out of this after all.
Yeah, very interesting decision. The Phoenix Flame over here looks like it's going to come in for 2 because of the Tiger Stripe Shuko
value. Yep.
Yeah, are these 2 damage worth those Snapdragon Scalers?
It's one of those things that's so interesting about like the complexities of high level Flesh and Blood, and especially in FI we talk about Shuko value, right? Like, is that 1 damage, that 1 extra damage worth what he just did? I don't know. It's maybe not, but it's one of those things that over time, the additive effects, maybe, it's some big brain activity here. But we just see Bun with the Enlightened Strike clapback coming in for, it does look like did I see 7 happening? I see 5 and then a 2. Okay, here we go. Yep, coming in for 7.
Yeah, the FI deck, it has so many cards with Natural Go again that it might make sense for Dan to just use those Snapdragon Scalers when he has the Lava Burst out. Who knows if he's going to draw another one? These mirrors, the FI games, they don't go more than 3, 4, 5 turns. If you hit that 5th turn, something is happening that isn't in plan. So it might make sense if Dan's calculated the odds and he's just not going to get another shot. Over here we see him leading off this turn with a Soaring Strike on hit, could give a 0-cost card go again. So we'll see if Bun can block that.
Starts big, has a kind of, it has a breakpoint attack, and it does look like Bun's going to eat it. Very interesting. So Bun does have a 5-card hand. It is in Phi's nature to just kind of eat everything if they have the nuts right there. So as long as he's, I think right now even equipment's probably on the table, but as long as he can keep 5 cards, Bun's going to do it. So we saw the Soaring Strike come in, but we did not see a card get banished to be given go again as a follow-up. But we see the Emberblade being used, and that's why the Cinder Skin Devotion and then the Flame Call Awakening were the remaining cards in his hand. So Flame Call should get an additional flame.
Yeah, Flame Call is getting that flame going to Dan's hand. There's also a flame in Dan's graveyard that he'll be able to pull for free thanks to all these Draconic Chain links. So after this Flame Call Awakening, 3 more damage coming in. If Bun chooses not to block this, Mask triggers and there's a whole nother card. But chances are, Bun's taking his time. He's pulling out that Lava Burst, preventing all 3 damage from the Flame Call Awakening, stopping that Mask from triggering. And there just aren't enough cards for Dan to threaten Mask a second time this turn.
Nope, we see the Phoenix Flame come in. That the second Phoenix Flame will get that Shuko buff to it, but no Arsenal. And we do see so he did give up a card, which is interesting, especially as a Lava Burst. Very intrigued to see what he has in his hand. I think that was a very, depending on what he had, that was an easy equipment block, in my opinion.
Yeah, Lava Burst, it is a 3 block, but it's also a ton of damage when you get it off. So maybe Bun doesn't have enough to extend the chain super far, or maybe he's already got one, and he decided he didn't want to use his Snapdragons on it. Very interesting possibilities. We'll see what he chooses to do with the remaining 3 cards in hand and 1 card in Arsenal available to him. Bun right now, 19 life, Dan at 28, but in these 5 games, the difference between 9 life can swing like that.
Yeah, it's just a matter of a couple cards hitting the board, and in the 5-player, just eating all of it. So Dan does have that, does appear to have the upper hand, but without that, I feel like without that card in Arsenal, it's still a very fair game. You know, Bun decided to take that damage, which means and block with that card, and I don't think that was a careless decision on his part. So we do see the Red Rising Resentment coming in for 3 go again. Again with the banish on hit, that would not be relevant on this link of the combat chain, but it is an easy 3 given up here. We see the blue Rising Resentment pitched, followed by the Ember Blade with go again because it's the second Draconic link, and that is also going to hit Dan Rakowski to bring him down to 22, and we see the life totals becoming much closer. As we had just discussed, and a Mounting Anger in the third chain, third link. This is threatening Mask Momentum, and it is a 4 attack coming in. So we'll see how Dan responds.
Yeah, Mounting Anger here is threatening a bit. Not only would Dan get to draw a card from the Mask on hit, but Mounting Anger has its own on hit. Something costing less than 3 would be banished and getting +1. So if Dan wants to prevent this, he not only is blocking 4 damage, he's preventing an extra card and potentially an extra damage. Looks like Dan, though, is choosing to let those on hits hit.
Very interesting. It does look like Bun is responding in reactions, activating Phi to bring the Phoenix Flame to hand so that he can target it with a Mounting Anger, and then maybe I was just because that would be banished.
Order the on hits, so he gets the card draw before he has to choose the Mounting Anger banish. Both the Mask and the Mounting Anger triggered on the same hit, so as the turn player and the owner of those, Bun's going to choose, and he chose Mask first.
Yeah, that flame slipped into the banish zone briefly there, but might have gotten ahead of himself a little bit. He is in the tank a little bit now, seeing which card he wants to give that buff. I think every card in his deck right now is eligible. Every attack, nothing costs more than 3 in any Phi list.
Yeah, and since Mask is already triggered, he doesn't have to worry about necessarily hitting those breakpoints to try and get that Mask trigger. At this point, it's just pure damage. What is Dan likely to block? What is likely to get through? Or if there are on hits on the card that might matter, are those going to matter based on having a +1 buff here? Also, pitching resources could be another consideration, depending on what the remaining card in his hand is and the card drawn other than that Phoenix Flame.
Yeah, and this might be the turn we see that Blazing Yori try to get some value out of it. We do know this combat chain is going to be extended at least one more. The Bun does have 3 cards in hand right now. Thinking on the Mounting Anger on hit still. We haven't seen a banish yet. And here we see the Flame Call Awakening. Looks like to be the one. We do see the cursor doing some talking here momentarily.
Yeah, and Bun making
gonna close the combat chain.
Yeah, closing the chain, denying Blazing Yuri from getting that extra bonus, and using that Phoenix Flame to pay the cost of the Flame Call Awakening, fetching another Phoenix Flame.
You know what? That is a spicy move right there. That is a heads-up play by Bun. Closing the combat chain. Flame Call Awakening still is active. It doesn't have to be a link on the combat chain. It just looks at red cards that were played this turn. So gets the buff, comes in for 4. Blazing Yuri is basically offline now, and we do see the Phoenix Flame coming in after the fact. So Phoenix Flame being pitched. It does look like the Phoenix Flame that was originally in the graveyard, it was pitched. Phoenix Flame gotten by Flame Call Awakening is now in the graveyard, and Bun has a 5-card hand. And we see Rakowski responding with the Belittle. A blue Mounting Anger, a spicy pick we've seen previously in some FAB Team Cup matches. Probably something he doesn't want to see right now, though. It does look like a yellow Belittle being used and fetching a blue Minnowism. So a lot of resources in his hand right now.
Yeah, once more, interesting choices at play. Dan could have revealed the Lava Burst and pitched the Mounting Anger, chose instead to pitch that Mounting Anger, pitch the Lava Burst and reveal the Mounting Anger. Mounting Anger, of course, triggering Tiger Stripe Shuko, so coming in for 3 instead of the 2. It does have Go Again, it does have Irrelevant on hit, but Lava Burst damage is still very legitimate damage, so I'm sure Dan ran the numbers based on everything in his head, but seeing the Lava Burst pitch here was very interesting to me.
Yeah, that Mounting Anger right now does present a potential 4 damage on 1 resource, so it is pretty solid rate. It's one of those cards where on its face it doesn't really look like much, but when you apply all the things that Phi can do, all of a sudden that value starts to peek through.
Yeah, it's interesting this game. Dan has been basically on 4 cards every turn. Bun has gotten a lot of value while still maintaining arsenals. So we'll see if Dan's able to recoup some of that tempo, I should say. Looks like he'll probably be swinging with his sword, potentially playing that last card in his hand. But Bun still sitting with all of those cards available. Looks like he's choosing something to potentially block this Mounting Anger. But we'll have to see in just a sec.
Yeah, for sure. Bun's decisions over the course of the game really kind of starting to shine through and show that he's, seems like he's got kind of command of the game and the board. That early 6 block on the Lava Burst, preventing the Mask Momentum trigger, the ability to clap back with that Enlightened Strike in order to kind of maintain his grasp on the game and not get too far behind. He's since been able to maintain a card in Arsenal, and like you mentioned, Dan has not been able to do that. Bun does look like he's got a plethora of 3 blocks here, so a 1-card block could be seen here just to keep that kind of that efficiency up. And prevent that on hit there. Rakowski, not known to run a ton of attack reactions in his deck. I don't believe we know what this card is in hand at the moment, but I would be shocked to see an Ancestral Empowerment or something like that of his own.
Yeah, we'll have to see. It could be anything, but right now I'm wondering what Bun's going to throw back, taking all this consideration on what to spend, what might be his only block of the turn. Looks like it's an Enlightened Strike, so a very powerful card. Not a Draconic card if he's building up Draconic Chain Links on his turn, but still blocking 3, stopping that Mounting Anger on hit, preventing potentially Mask of Momentum for the turn. Dan firing back with the Searing Emberblade, 3 damage, get through easy, and ending the chain with a Snatch.
Snatch, powerful in its own right. Still, it has the on-hit draw on the card, which means the block from Bun, a very timely one, making that a 5 attack would have been just that much more painful. So we do see the Snatch coming in for 4, with the ability to basically get the card in arsenal that I think he desperately needs right now to maintain a tempo here.
Yeah, Bun debating, is it worth it? Does he want to keep those cards? Or does he want to stop Dan from getting the card in Arsenal? Life totals right now pretty close. Dan's at 13, Bun is at 14. Will Bun be able to potentially deal lethal damage on his turn? Or is this going to last just a few more turns, depending on how these blocks go, how these cards end up hitting the table?
Interesting that Bun seems to be focusing on a potential card block and not an equipment-based block. It seems like a pretty straightforward Shuko and Furnace block, but we do see the Spreading Flames and Shuko blocking for 4. So the block comes through. Bun now has 2 card hand and 1 in arsenal after that turn from Dan, who draws up and now has 4 cards of his own. We see the blue pitch from Bun, a blue Soul Bead Strike, and a red Soaring Strike coming in. So this is a 4 attack for 1 on hit. 0 cost can gain Go Again at this link of the combat chain. So coming in tall, and the potential to give a card Go Again in his hand.
Yeah, as you were saying, it's an interesting choice choosing not to block with Tiger Stripe Shuko and instead to block with that Spreading Flames. Spreading Flames, a card that when you get a long chain can be very good. Over here, Dan just took that damage, and Bun is coming out with a Flame Call Awakening, so definitely going to be building up the combat chain this turn.
Yep, and he's gonna be able to get the Phoenix Flame from his deck. He still has a resource floating. Just good Draconic cards coming in. Right now, a 7 damage turn on a 2 card and an arsenal. Not the worst value in the world. And we do see the Phoenix Flame. Oh, it looks like it was just being revealed. So the 3 damage from the Flame Call Awakening coming through Dan Rakowski at 6. We do see the Phoenix Flame now coming in and the devastatingly low Yori block for 1, but it does stop the Mask of Momentum trigger here. I think Dan's going to be disappointed to have to use it on that.
Yeah, you really, when you have Blazing Yori, I think you're envisioning using it to stop a Lava Burst. And Bun, seeing that Blazing Yori, just figured, okay, I won't play Lava Burst, or I won't use the Lava Burst. I'll just close the chain and keep up my low attacks. And it's a strategy that caused Dan to lose a lot of value from that equipment slot.
Yeah, Bun's been. It seems like Bun's been really hyper aware of that. Yori has been successfully working around it all game. We saw that very very heads up play of closing the combat chain to eliminate that Yori value, a turn cycler to a go. We do see Bun does have the Phoenix Flame in hand, so that will be the last card he has. It does look like they're discussing something. The cursors are talking.
Yeah, the cursors are talking, but Bun looks like he's about to put that Phoenix Flame somewhere. And
Would
that's
be in
somewhere
the pitch. Yep.
pitch zone. Yeah, using that.
Turning it.
Great.
Yeah, turning. It would have been a 2 damage with the Shuko. Pitching it away brings 3 damage from the Emberblade, and now Dan is down to 3. So we got Bun at 14, Rakowski at 3 life. Rakowski's got a 4 card hand. You got to imagine that he's on the back foot here. He's really got to come through with something spicy to get through the potential equipment blocks. Bun has 5 block worth of equipment and a 4 card hand. So Dan really's got to really got to go over the top here. So we do see the Rise from the Ashes gets the Phoenix Flame out of the yard. We do see the Ronin Renegade follow up, getting the buff from Rise from the Ashes. So coming in for 6 go again here. A solid start to try to gain a footing back.
Yeah, with the Phi deck though, when your opponent gets low, it's very easy to push them from a low life total to a 0 life total. So at this point, Bun, who has the cards, is trying to think to himself, if does Dan have lethal? What is the minimum amount I can block with so that I can come back and if I don't kill Dan, threaten him enough that he has to use his cards and can't kill me? We've reached that point in the game.
Yep, the old Phi adage. How much is it? Is it lethal? No, I'll take all of it. Happening in real time here. We see Dan slow to select his follow up here, trying to assess what's going to get him the closest to presenting lethal. But he is in the tank here a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely possible and actually not too difficult for Phi to present 8 damage with 3 cards left in hand. But we also have to look at the equipment. On top of 8 life, Bun has Shuko, Mask of Momentum, and 1 block on his Flamescale Furnace. Dan over here just coming with a little Phoenix Flame for 1. Saying if you want to stop the Mask trigger, here's something you can block potentially. All I've got are 2 cards left. What am I going to do?
Yep, for sure. The lowly flame coming in for 1 go again. I believe that was the one grabbed up by the Rise, but we'll see. Maybe he had 2 flames in hand. But yep, coming in for 1. Bun kind of assessing. I don't imagine a world where he blocks this, but we'll see what happens.
Well, he could use his Flamescale Furnace, keeping all of his cards just block for 1, prevent 1 hit. That seems like an efficient use of the resources anyway, if you're trying to stop those chain links from adding up.
For sure. We are getting down to, I think it's safe to call this the late game, getting close to the end game. The Phi mirror in the first game of the FAB Team Cup Championships. We have Team Runaways versus Team Gold. And in front of us right now is Dan Rakowski from the Runaways versus Bun R from Team Gold out of Hong Kong. And as you so presciently predicted here, the Flamescale Furnace being used with the 1 remaining block from the Phoenix Flame to get that value out of there. And we see the follow-up being a Rising Resentment coming in for 3 go again. This one in particular relevant if he has a 1 cost in hand, the potential to use that next card is on the table here. Interested to see if Bun kind of bites on it here.
Yeah, if that last card in Dan's hand costs 1 and the Rising Resentment hits, it would of course be banishable and playable for 1 less for 0. Dan could also be bluffing, holding on to a blue card or something to swing with the Ember Blade, or a 0 cost. Trying to get Bun to use the cards in his hand to block the Rising Resentment seems like it's definitely more of a psychic damage kind of play than anything else. We'll have to see what Bun decides to do with this presented in front of him.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, no Mask Momentum in play here, even if that was, say, a Lava Burst, right? He's got 8 damage. Potential. I guess it would be 9 if Lava Burst was there because of the Phoenix Flame and Shuko. But still 4 block on Bun's equipment and 4 cards in hand. You know, I think he's in a good spot here. You could probably eat most of this, whatever happens the rest of this turn.
Yeah, so what would be the best case scenario for Dan? I'm thinking if he has a Flame Call Awakening and Rising Resentment hits, he can play that and get another Phoenix Flame, present that 3rd chain link potentially. But Bun would be able to easily block a Phoenix Flame with one of his remaining equipments. You mentioned Lava Burst. That could be potential burst damage coming in for 6 if it is the remaining card. Bun, 8 life over here. the equipment, bring that up practically to 12. So it's unlikely, I think, for Dan to present lethal this turn.
Yeah, I mean, really, realistically, I think the highest value play potentially is if he's got no Phoenix Flames in his hand, it doesn't matter. But if that's an E strike and he's got a flame in the yard still, he could potentially do something extra with that. But otherwise, I think the maximum, right, is either damage output wise, probably the potential for assault or a lava burst getting buffed by the Shuko. But a lot of these scenarios are just, and we see the Emberblade coming in, so it is oh man, it's an Art of War. So pitching the yellow coming in for 3.
Yeah, very interesting. Dan, I guess, decided at the beginning of the turn that
Really
he didn't have the hand composition he wanted to play the Art of War.
I guess
Potentially,
not.
we could have seen something like after the Flame Call Awakening, banishing the Phoenix Flame for Banish Draw 2. But over here, none of those cards were really cards Dan wanted to pitch.
Yeah, and that's part of it. And the flame is he has the flame. Huh.
Yeah,
Interesting.
Yeah, he presented lethal numbers-wise, but the Tiger Stripe Shuko able to eat those last 2 damage, leaving Bun at 2 life, Dan at 3 life, Bun with 4 cards in his hand to put pressure on Dan, who still has two block equipments left, but only 3 life and 4 cards. This is where we're going to start to see the tempo heavily shift, as Dan's not going to be able to afford to no block, except for as we've been seeing this game.
Looking back at that turn, very interesting. So it looked like he had two of the flames in the yard, right? Rise from the Ashes was one of the first plays, so he got that card in his hand, had the second flame resting in the yard. That Art of War was there the entire time. I don't know if I like that line. I think that Art of War might have had some use there. Speaking of Arts of War, Bun pitching a blue and playing an Art of War of his own choosing. It looks like +1 and Banish to draw 2. A Lava Burst hitting the Banish. So Bun now with 3 cards in hand, 2 resources floating, and an Art of War given the buff. We'll see how this goes. I played a lot of games of FI. It is very tragic when those 2 cards are just blues. But one of them's an Art of War. Oh man. So a second Art of War coming in. We see the Banish. We see the +1 indicated on the die. So double Art of War. 1 resource remaining in pitch here. Bun was still with 3 cards. Coming in for a typical attack would come in for 5 with Go Again right now.
Yeah,
and there it is.
Rising Resentment coming in for 5 thanks to the 2 Art of Wars. We'll see what those other 2 cards Bun has in hand, but if he's able to play them and they're 3 cost, or 3 damage cards, that's 15 damage presented. Very, very difficult for Dan to block that with 4 cards in hand. If they're anything better, if Bun's going to be able to swing his sword, grab a Phoenix Flame, do all this fancy stuff, then he's going to be able to eat Dan's equipment and get the damage over potentially to win the game. Here we see a block for 5, Dan using his Mask of Momentum and a Soul Bead Strike. Bun coming in now with a Blazing Headlong for 6 thanks to the 2 Art of Wars. Go Again, of course, because he played that Rising Resentment. Blocking 6, no tall order, but Dan has that with 1 card left in hand after the block with Lava Burst and Command and Conquer. And Bun coming in over here for, I think that's 4 more, using his last resource.
See the Shuko block. Oh,
yeah,
we see Shuko and block from hand too.
Yeah, Dan giving up all of his cards, letting this Phoenix Flame come in for 3 damage. That's lethal.
That is the game.
Yeah, so game number 1 today, going to Team Gold. Bun defeating Dan Rakowski in the FI Mirror. A very exciting game, Pat. I love seeing mirror matches in the Team Cup. Of course, the players don't know who their opponents are going to be when they select their heroes. The players present their roster each team. Here are the players. Here are the heroes that we're using, and they are matched against the other team, not knowing any of the hero matchups. So here we had a mirror match. We've had a few of those so far this season, and I'm told we're going to have a few more mirror matches actually showing up today based on the way that the schedule has been placed.
Mm-hmm. For sure. It's got to be disappointing for Dan to not pull that out there, but a lot of heads-up plays from Bun. Being able to end on a double Art of War turn is ultimate Phi destruction when that happens. The active Phi player loves it. The defending Phi player basically knows it's over when that happens. But an exciting start to an exciting night. We are here, the FTC Championship round. We have Team Runaways versus Team Gold, and it's brought to you by FAB Foundry. If you go to fabfoundry.co and get your singles there, your Flesh and Blood singles, you can use discount code TEAMCUP10 to get 10% off that purchase, and the proceeds of which, when you use that code, help fund the tournament, the prize support, and future tournaments sponsored by FAB Foundry. So thank you to them. We will be taking a quick break here, talking to my production truck here, and we will be back in just a couple minutes here with the next game.
Very exciting. We'll be right back. Stay tuned, everybody.
And welcome back, fight fans. With me now is the FTC Commissioner, Jesse Valdez. Jesse, how are you doing
Hello.
today?
I am doing great, Pat. Just got back from work. Been watching that. I watched that first game, that FIMIR. Incredible. Crazy to see someone pilot a FI deck better than Daniel Orkowski. So.
Right, it did seem not to knock Dan, but definitely some. I don't know if it was variance just not working out in his favor, like Andy and I had talked about before. Sometimes that happens there,
Yeah.
but definitely does seem like some instances of Dan specifically, right, breaking the Snapdragon scalers early on that lava burst to get the flame out
Mhm.
as a follow-up. You combine that with the way that Bun was able to block, and it just combined for Dan to kind of a bad day.
Yeah, and you look at that game too, and it just like over the course of it, it looks like Bun just was able to draw more damage overall than Dan was even able to like get going there. There were some times where we saw like a lava pitch, the lava burst pitched to go into a I can't remember the card that went into, but it just there was not enough synergy, which you normally see on Fi's end, really happening on Dan's side for that game, and Bun was just able to take it away.
Yeah, the adage is right. Fi has an incredibly high ceiling, and sometimes the hands can be really clunky. Most of the time,
yeah.
that ends up being like fair Fi. Every once in a while, you have just a terrible game. You get a bunch of one costs. Not enough to pitch. You saw him pitch the Art of War to get the belittle going there,
Yeah.
and things like that. It just all those little inefficient moves over time add up, and you saw it in real time there where Bun was able to capitalize. And Bun closing the combat chain after
Beautiful.
to prevent the value coming from Yuri. That it feels like the play. There's at least the big brain play of the game for me.
Yeah, and there was that turn that he actually blocked with the Blaze and Yori there on the Phoenix Flame. That it was another perfect example where if he had just closed the combat chain there and the Blaze and Yori hadn't actually blocked, would have closed the combat chain, still swung 3, and that thing's still sitting there at 1 value. And Bun was able to just like carry that over turn after turn. Really good blocks. Maybe that's the way that you want to actually be piloting Fi when you see a Blaze and Yori on the other end. You want to just like get some blocks out. Like if you're blocking 3 here and you're just going to be sending 3, if the mass trigger is always going to be blocked, you can still send a bunch of damage. That Blaze and Yori is just going to be like useless the whole time, and you could potentially win out like we saw here with Bun and Dan.
Well, I think you said the thing, right? I think on paper, Blaze and Yori looks real good, but it is real easy to make it useless. So maybe Dan was testing some theory out in real time, and maybe he's kind of chucking it after today. But let's move on to talk about our next match here. We are going to have Brody Spurlock from Team Runaways versus Ray Lamb, and we are going to see.
Ooh, that's gonna be a good game.
We're going to see an Icelander mirror match here. Brody, historically on Briar, has been shifting over to Icelander recently to great success.
Yeah, and the Icelander mirror a lot of the time is going to be one of those just like slow, really thought-provoking games where getting the decision on who's going to go first and who's going to go second is going to be optimally important. We see this a lot of the time in mirror matches where being like the person who gets to choose is going to be the person a lot of the time who's going to just end up with a lot of that momentum, a lot of that tempo into the game. And a lot of the time with Icelander, we're going to see them opt to go first so they can get that blue into Arsenal and they can really get that train going on how all their turns are going to look thereafter that. Just slinging arcane, slinging frostbites, and, every now and again throwing a wounded bull.
And just before we get to that game, I'll remind our audience once more that this tournament and this stream is brought to you by Fab Foundry. Go to fabfoundry.co, use the discount code TeamCup10 to get your singles and help fund this tournament and future tournaments here. And we are going to cut to the game right now and get them going. Brody Spurlock versus Ray Lamb, the Icelander Mirror. And of course, the 36 life total for both of them. We don't see the equipment yet here, but it does look like Diamondback is Brody Spurlock. He's in the blue. He'll be on the left. Ray Lamb is in the red on the right. The cursors are talking for their pregame actions. The Frostbite collections are starting up here, and it looks like we'll get going here momentarily.
So the kind of equipment we should be looking to see here on both sides is as weapons, the Waning Moon. Oh, and as they bring them up, this is exactly what I was thinking. We have Storm Striders, Alluvian Constellas, Metacarpus nodes, and a Null Rune Robe, both on each side here.
Yes, right. Mirroring equipment with each other. It does look like it's going to be hard to track priority in turns because wizards. So it does look like Ray is going first with an icing, frosting, and that is some amount of damage to any target. Yeah. Yeah, so they're the arcane damage, the trademark Icelander moves here of punching themselves in the face to load up the Constellus. Ray starts that awkward battle off here with the frosting, and looks like he'll arsenal and pass to Brody.
You know, I would hazard a guess in chat that there are people that have never seen that move happen before. What we just saw is the Alluvian Constellus, the frosting coming in for one, the Null Rune being paid by Ray, who played it on themselves, just to build a counter there. Once we get to 2 counters there, you can use it as an instant to make it so your weapon effect costs 3 less.
Brody on his turn 1, pitching 2 blues and getting the Wounded Bull out, does not get the value with the increased life. Yes, he did. No, he didn't. He came in just for the 7 because life was at parity. Looks like they blocked for 5 and took 2, and now Ray is at lower life total, and Ray responds with his own Wounded Bull now. And at the lower life total, Ray at 34, Brody at 36. Wounded Bull coming in for 8.
Yeah, and get your butts warmed up, everybody. This match is going to be a lot of this. It's going to be a Wounded Bull on one end, maybe throw some Arcane, give you a Frostbite. I'll draw a card here, you'll draw a card there. This is going to be pretty much the basis we're going to be making on both these heroes. So right now, in perfect parity here, we just see the Wounded Bull right after another Wounded Bull. This one coming in for 8 though, which is much nicer. But this is going to give some room for this Icelander to work with. Maybe throw some arcane damage out from that arsenal, shoot the Waning Moon, be able to basically send some unpreventable damage at this point. Ooh, choosing not to, though.
Because we see another Wounded Bull. This is the Value Town happening
squared,
right
everyone.
Here.
Yeah.
The Icelander Mirror with the common 3-cost red attacks.
Oh, please let it happen again.
All over.
Please.
The last Icelander Mirror we had also had a very similar just going back and forth with these. And we see a Findel's Fighting Spirit. You know, for all the talk about all the shenanigans wizards do, this is my kind of flesh and blood. Give me 2-card red attacks for this is 7, and I believe he gained a life.
Mm-hmm.
And
you know, and I'm really curious about this. Icelander players out there, what do you like more? When we see a Fendel's Fighting Spirit, which is coming in for 7 and gaining you a life if you're at a lower life total than your opponent, or a Wounded Bull that is coming in for 7 and getting +1 when you are at a lower life total. Both of these cards attribute to the same value, one refunding back to yourself while the other one puts it on the front as damage. But as Icelander players, like, what do you prefer? In this mirror, and into all your other matchups. I, for one, I think prefer Wounded Bull. I just think throwing that extra 2 is just gonna just push you over the limit so much more, and you also keep your life totals down. So when you get to the eventualities like this, where you're playing the Fendel's Fighting Spirit or the Wounded Bull or the Scar for Scar, you tend to get more value out of it.
It is an interesting conundrum to be under. I'm a Findels Fighting Spirit fan myself. I know that, but I play a little more defensively lately, and that life gain becomes a little more relevant than the damage out. I like to maintain a solid life total, and Findels helps. And we do see Brody responding to the attack with an Amulet of Ice from Arsenal, generating the Frostbite, and we see the follow-up Waning Moon coming in for 3, and no attempt to prevent any of that arcane.
Yeah, that Icelander on Ray's side, he's got 1 card in hand. There's going to be no block on that end. That's going to just happen.
And we do see the block here, the Aether Ice Vein and the something Bolt being able to block.
Ice Bolt, I believe. Blue Ice Bolt.
I'll believe you. I do
And
have.
that's exactly what it is, right? Piece of ice just flying through the air.
I do, in fact, have an Icelander deck in front of me. So I am going to learn the cards as we go here. And we see the Enlightened Strike now coming in. Red attacks all over the place. Hard to imagine it coming in for anything other than 7. See if he puts the dice on, and there it is. And we see 5. Did he
Very
choose go
interesting
again?
to see it come out of Arsenal as well. Most of the times, Icelanders are always trying to put the blue there. Sometimes you do end up with the red in Arsenal since you're playing such a value-heavy deck on one side of it. But it is very interesting to see just honestly the go again as well. So we might be seeing a Findels Fighting Spirit or a Wounded Bull shortly after, or even another E-Strike maybe coming for 7.
What we're not seeing is arcane damage coming from Ray, though at all, except for the 1 attempt that he prevented himself. Sometimes that's just how what the hands give you. It's kind of it feels like it's the other side of the sword of this kind of turn cycle value approach here, where you've kind of thrown out. We do see the Frost Hex now being played in response to that of Arsenal, given the Frostbite over. So it does look like he's coming in for 5 go again, that Enlightened Strike, but it will be costing a little extra as a follow-up. Ooh, in the heart of Findels, but no life gain here being pitched. Floating 2 and a Wounded Bull, as aptly predicted by Jesse, the red attack.
Who would have thought? It's good to note though that as both of these decks are playing more Wounded Bulls, more Findels Fighting Spirits, that's just less of these cards that they're going to be playing into the future. And these are big, heavy swinging cards that neither player's armor set really came prepared to deal with. So most of the time when we see these, it's going to be 2 cards in front of it, no matter what. We're really trying to just scale that damage, ride that ladder down slowly of life all the way to the bottom. Ooh, I think this is actually a really good block here.
Yeah. We see the Channel Mount Frosty, the Channel Lake Frigid, and the E-Strike being used to block here. And coming down to 27. Now he is at lower life totals, which is super relevant. Brody at 27, Ray at 31 in the Icelander mirror here on the FTC Championship championship night here. Brody simply arsenaling and passing the Amulet of Ice and the Frost Hex on the board. Ray on his turn, I believe it's his turn, coming in with the Insidious Chill, setting up his own board state. Now things were getting chonky at first. Now it seems like they're getting a bit frosty.
Yeah, and a lot of the time in matchups between other heroes, the when tempo is swung in another hero's favor, it's very visible. You'll see a lot of cards on the board. You'll see a lot of damage taken on one end or the other. What we just witnessed here on Brody's last turn was the tempo swing. Brody was the one who was able to put a card in Arsenal where Ray was not. And in this matchup, that is the important thing. Now, most of the agency is going to be on Brody here. We didn't see the card actually get played on Ray's turn, so it is very interesting to see what this will be. But that in this mirror specifically, arsenaling the card when your opponent doesn't have that is what will be swinging the game in your favor and what will be those big tempo moments.
Mm-hmm. We do see Ray. It does look like the cursors are talking. Every time I see those fingers moving, I imagine a very vigorous conversation. But it does look like both players discussing the state of their game.
If only these cursors moved like some professional players, how they card shuffle, just like these cursors would be flying all over the place.
If only DTS had the sound effect of the card flick to make sure that everyone everywhere could enjoy that. The frost text looks like the frost text is being observed. Ooh, perhaps they're looking at a timing issue with the frost text.
That could be.
Both Icelander players figuring out how the other half works in the mirror. It's the funny thing about mirrors. Usually your heroes, if you pick like kind of a less popular one, the odds of a mirror are pretty low, and sometimes it's a super complicated match to even kind of comprehend. And we do see the finals fighting spirit coming out of Arsenal. All right, so it is Brody's turn. It is Brody's turn. The finals fighting spirit coming in, gaining a life. Brody going to 28, coming in for 7. And Ray looking to block. He blocks with an enlightened strike for 3, and looks like he'll take 4, going to 27. Now he is at that relevant lower life total where everything turns on. We do see before the end of Brody's turn, it looks like the Amulet of Ice on his own. Or did I? Okay. All right. The interesting, the frostbite. Oh, because the frost text is okay. The frost text is Brody's on Ray's, so that is why no damage was taken. We do see the first red Aether Ice Vein being played with the Cold Snap being revealed to fuse it. So we're going to see our first instance of arcane damage coming through with the potential, with the definite of a discard. Insidious Chill losing the counter, getting the discard effect happening there, and then coming in for 5 arcane, and if any of that hits, another discard effect, or pay 2.
I do find it interesting that Ray decided to do that on the end phase, because getting that frostbite didn't really affect anything. Having the Amulet of Ice in Arsenal here would give you a bit more room to work with, like if you wanted to spread it to next turn, depending on what Brody does here, or if you just wanted to bring it out instant speed, you've Ice Fused this turn. That condition has been met. I don't believe the card needs to be out on the field prior to the condition being met. So it's an odd play, but these are high level players. I choose more often than not to look too heavily at what they do, because there's a rhyme and reason for most things.
Yes, absolutely. And it does look, in the Amulet of Ice event, I'm sure we're all thinking that can come in. Perhaps he's going to pop it now. And you wanted to see if we could get the value from the end of the turn last turn, just to get the ability to play off something. But he does have he will have a Cold Snap in hand when it's all said and done here. So it does look like the ability to break the Amulet to gain another discard effect on top of everything else. The potential to lose 3 cards from Brody's hand here is very real.
No matter what, but we're going to be losing 2. Actually, I guess we are only losing 1 if they decide to take the 5 damage here. But deciding to follow it up with the Insidious Chill of their own.
Yeah, Insidious Chill pitching the bolt, the ice bolt. Is that what that is? I'm going to say so. So the Insidious Chill on the board. Frostbite is on Ray's side. So the Frost Hex is online at the moment. Waning Moon coming in as a follow-up. Here dealing, attempting to deal 3 Arcane.
And that's if I'm a guessing man, a betting man, and I am, I'm going to assume that will not be reduced in any way. With Ray only having the 1 card in hand, it being an ice card blue pitch, there's no way we're giving that up just to stop some pesky damage when we're still in the high 20s, mid 20s, mid 20s.
Mid 20s indeed. Ray at 24. Brody now at 27. It looks like Constanalis does get a counter on it, preventing some of the damage. Pitching away the rest of his cards, so Brody left empty-handed.
Good to remind everyone, it is Brody's turn, and we are going to be moving into. Wait, it was Brody's turn, right? No, it was Ray's turn.
No, it was Ray's turn. Yeah, right. Yeah, so Brody now has no cards to do anything because it was. Was it Ray's turn?
It was Ray's turn. He drew. It's
yes.
Brody's
Now
turn.
Brody's not doing anything because he has no cards in hand, and now on Brody's turn, Cold Snap is being played. Waning Moon is happening, and now it's Ray's turn.
And nobody has a frostbite. Let's make that very clear. No one has a frostbite.
No one has a frostbite. There is both players have in Insidious Chill and an Amulet of Ice. Ray has a Frost Hex owned by Brody on his side, the potential to be dealt the arcane damage from there. And now to complete the equilibrium, the mirror is, they're staring at each other, but also themselves philosophically, as boards are now very much completely equal, except for 1 additional counter on Brody's Insidious Chill. But we do see the Frost Hex from Arsenal, Frostbite, Waning Moon, Brody looking like he's looking at his cards, potentially pitch away something to prevent some of this arcane. And he does pitch an Ice Eternal. That one I knew. Preventing arcane, gaining a Constellalis counter. And Ray arsenaling and passing.
Yeah, and having that being the first one to actually have a Constellalis activation here. Are you saying it right? Is it I call it Constellas.
Constellas?
Yeah.
Look, I'm gonna be honest.
Constellas activation.
I rolled with it very early. No one stopped me until right now. Constellas. Yeah, I'm adding a couple extra letters to it. Constellalis.
Couple extra vowels.
The Constellas. Say it one more time. Constellas.
Constellas?
Constellas? Sure. The Findel's Fighting Spirit, I can say Findel pretty well, is coming in by Brody. Higher life total at the moment, so will not be gaining the life value, but still coming in for a solid 7. The block by the Ice Bolt for 3 by Ray, and we see a pitch. And a Cold Snap from Arsenal, drawing a card, getting a Frostbite.
I'm not sure exactly, because I'm not an Icelander player, but it has been very interesting to see as this game has gone on, the more of these big 7 swinging damage cards that we've seen, we are now seeing them being blocked less than we were seeing at the beginning of the game. Because it seemed to be a lot of like, well, here's 7, I'll block 2. Here's 7, I'll block 2. Now it's here's 7, I think I can throw 1. Yeah, we'll put 1 here because we're going to try for something on our turn. It's very interesting how they have less life now and they want to block less. I don't know if this is something that's maybe like antithesis to the Icelander player, but just something I noticed in this game particularly.
Well, I think everyone's going to the school of Hamilton and trying to do the math, right? If the Fighting Spirit's coming in for 7, can I deal 8 and thus gain more value by not blocking, and and thus my turn value is
Yeah.
whatever. And Hamilton,
got his own right
Hamilton's so good at that, and I'm not.
There
but
it is.
there it is. There you see the equivalent to the mirror happening, the Findell's Fighting Spirit gaining the life as well. So gaining back
This
to
is just a game
equal.
of patty cake.
It really is. This just it is one cold slap fight. And just both players just doing exactly what the other player seemed to have done. Down to the Constellus. So the Constellus on Brody's side having the 2 counters, Ray with the 1, but everything else just about equal down to the actions they're taking on each other's turn. Though Ray seems to have gotten a little bit on the upper hand in terms of the incremental value over the course of the game. He's been able to buff his Wounded Bull. He's been able to get the life back from his Findell's Fighting Spirit. The Icelanders are in constant search of that. That winning the turn cycle every time. How do you do that? You gain these little points of damage here. And Ice Eternal coming in for the block, a double Ice Eternal block, taking 1, and now Brody is now down to 19. So all his stuff is now online. Let's see if he can take advantage of it.
I do really think that the first person who's really able to pop off with that Amulet of Ice, these Insidious Chills, has the biggest potential to really run away with this game, because being able to rob them of their arsenal, being able to just rob them of damage over turns, especially if they draw like an all red hand of their E-Strikes, Fighting Spirits, Wounded Bulls. I haven't seen any Scar for Scars yet, but I know there are some lists that do run those. But especially if like Brody right here is able to just like have like a crazy crackdown turn with all of these pay to or discard effects. There we go. We see a Wounded Bull
discarding. Yeah, so it does look like Brody came in with the Aether Ice Vein and fused it with an Aether Hail to get the activation. So an Insidious Chill counter coming off with the discard or pay 2 effect, and it does look like Ray just pitched into a follow-up here. Does look like he prevented 1, I believe. My eyes went all over the place, but I do believe he prevented 1 to add a counter to his Constellus to get up to 2 to match Brody, and that appears to be the end of it.
Was that a yellow Aether Ice Vein?
It looked like it.
Okay, because that makes sense, because he didn't have any floating resources, and he pitched to Channel Lake and the red there.
Yep. Sigil of Solace coming in for Ray, gaining 3 life.
There, Ray. We have windows of priority to deal with. He is just passing. I was like, you're dealing with Icelander here. We got like 2 more minutes to think in there, bud, before you gain that 3.
The Sigil's not something I've known to see in a lot of Icelander lists. Or not in my experience, anyways. The Hamilton Bowlander list doesn't, or maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. I don't have it. It doesn't. But you mentioned there's a couple red cards people usually see but haven't seen. Scar for Scar you mentioned there. Wondering if they took those out for the mirror here. But we do see Brody does get. So I think this is Ray's turn. So we do see the Aether Hail coming in, getting the Frostbite, dealing 2 arcane. And I do believe the Waning Moon followed up there. Ray, the priorities are killing me here. Ray's turn ended. He drew up. Now it's Brody's turn. He had a 3-card hand. He is coming in with a Findell's Fighting Spirit. Does not gain a life because he's up 2, but he does pitch a Frost Hex away in order to do that. Brody now has 1 card in hand. Ray 5 card on his opponent's turn. Ray at 17. Brody at 19, not quite at super spicy level, but we're slowly getting there in terms of small life totals and who gets to pop Striders first. We see the block, the Frostex and the Brothers at Arms. No pitch for additional block there though. So Ray taking 2, going to 15, and we see another Sigil of Souls come in from Ray to gain 3 life, go back up to 18, still 1 under Brody.
You mentioned Striders, and it just flashed into my mind all of a sudden. We're gonna have a turn where there's gonna be Striders layers happening, Icelander from Arsenal layers happening, and we're just gonna have to do our best to follow what is going on. There's gonna be triggers going off, counters coming off things, amulets destroyed. It's gonna be a war zone out here.
Both players are set up, right? It is gonna be just a massacre here. Who can get what? And we see a red Aether Ice Vein, fused for the Cold Snap, Insidious Chill counter going down. Maybe that is a... it's really tough to see if that's...
that's a yellow, I think.
It's a yellow.
Yeah.
So coming in for 4 Arcane, fused, so the discard or pay is an effect. We do see a blue pitch in an energy potion and a blue pitch in a polar blast. The Insidious Chill had ticked down. We do see now the Waning Moon follow up. This should be for 2 because I do think it's Brody's turn.
Yep. Okay. For 2 then. Yeah, we saw the counter come off, the energy potion pitched to the Insidious Chill. And then the rest of that blue from the Polar Blast there was used to reduce the 4 damage from the Chilling Ice Vein.
Ray's Constellus is, I believe it's online. Does it take 3? It does. No, remove 2 energy counters. All right.
Yeah.
Takes 2. Great song.
But this is actually, I feel like, kind of what they try to work for is... because you actually stop building counters on Constellus once you get to 4. It actually states that if you have less than 4, you can put a counter on here when you reduce. So it's like once they get to 4, that kind of becomes when they want to start using that, because they get the 1 activation when it's at 4, they get the next activation presumably when it's at 3, and then they're able to usually null rune 1 more time, get a 3rd activation, and then use that.
Excellent. I did not know that. I'm new to the Icelander game. I've seen a lot of these games being played. Still learning the cards and the sequences. It can be tough to follow, but Ray does get the 2nd Frostex onto Brody's board. I do feel like that is important. There, the Waning Moon, the pitch. There's 4 cards in pitch on Ray's side now. That is a whole lot of pitch happening.
Yeah. And there's actually a lot more chances in mirrors as well for them to be building Constellus counters faster, but they've both just been drawing those red 7 just come at your face for like constantly. They've been doing it almost like every turn cycle other than maybe 1.5 at this point. But that's also pretty much how these Icelander decks are built, thanks to all the work and efforts of our very professional world champions out there. World champion.
Absolutely. There is only one so far. 1 world championship has occurred, and Hamilton has won it. We do see one of those red cards being stacked here in the pitch. The Wounded Bowl being used. We now have Brody at 17. Ray is at 16. Brody's going to draw up because that was his turn and is now over. It is now Ray's turn with 0 cards in hand.
You know what I'm just beginning to realize?
Yeah.
There's a point at which this game entered its kind of like slower, more methodical phase, and I think that point was actually when the first Frostex hit the board. Because what you see there for the Icelander that played the Frostex is now every turn cycle, if you're trying to play like an ice card from Arsenal, you're giving them a chance to build Constellus there. So this is like another thing you need to add to the scales that you're constantly weighing on both sides. Like, am I giving up counters here? Am I giving up damage when I'm not actually like presenting so much damage? And like this is a slow, methodical game no matter what. But I really think we didn't really brush on it enough when that first Frost Hex hit the board, just like how much of an impact that has to like the timing of everything and the cards that we do see put in Arsenal turn after turn.
Yep. And we saw Ray with no cards, pass priority, and Brody put an Epot from Arsenal onto the board before Ray ended his turn and drew up. So it is now Brody's turn, who has 3 cards and no Arsenal. Ray sits at 4 cards and no Arsenal. This is where things can get kind of dicey. The no Arsenal is a very painful experience, and we see Brody play the Channel Lake Frigid, pitching another one to start taxing Ray, and we see the card go in Arsenal and drop, and now it is Ray's turn. So Brody, 5-card hand, 17 life. It is now Ray's turn. I don't know what the damage ceiling is here, but you like to see as the active, or I think as an Icelander player, you like to see the player have a little vulnerability with no Arsenal, especially a fellow Icelander. You're not going to get that frostbite effect. We do see the Feindel's Fighting Spirit coming in. Looks like it will cost 4. We see 2 blues being pitched, so 2 float. The Feindel's coming in. It does gain Ray a life, so he should tick up to 14 here momentarily, but will be presenting 7 damage to Brody, who sits with a 5-card hand. So Ray now has 1 card in hand on his turn.
Yeah, and this is a bit of an unfortunate spot for Brody to see right here, because we have the Channel Lake Frigid on the board, and a lot of the times Icelander has a lot of room to keep that card out if they want. But when we start getting down into these lower life totals, like to take 7 or even 4 here puts you in just such dangerous territory for like a huge Strider's play, especially if they're able to like leak out your hand and still have a bunch of cards that deal damage at Arsenal, hand, you have your wand. So like taking like too much damage at all at this point in the game is going to just put you in that dead zone. Luckily, they do have the AB5 on both sides, so if they just have like a full grip of blues, they'll most likely be safe. But it's just not how either Icelander is going to approach these turn cycles going into the end, because it's like once you're below 8, 9, that's just when like both sides are like, okay, who slips up first? Who slips up and allows all of this damage to go through?
Right, and the relationship between all those items, right? It feels like Icelander, right? The first one to rip their opponent's hands apart and get that going. But even their damage is kind of capped in a sense there, where you really got to get to that kind of that sweet spot where even arcane prevention isn't going to help you do stop everything. Usually I honestly don't know what the number is as a defending Icelander player, but usually if you get under 10 life facing Icelander, it's pretty close to game over if you don't have if they got it.
Yeah, just some words of advice to everyone going against Icelander: don't drop below 10. It's really good for you to not do that.
Yeah, it does seem, we've seen a lot of Icelander games where Icelander takes a lot of damage early from, non-ice heroes, drops into the teens there, and then all of a sudden, all these items and different things about the board state start stabilizing, and they start to catch up. And you think you're trying to maintain that, kind of tempo that you're having, but they're just making you play fair. Right, flesh and blood, and all of a sudden lives are equal, and then you get to single digits, and everything bad happens. We do see a cold snap coming out from Arsenal. The Heart of Feindel being pitched. To do that, I believe he gained the life going up to 14, and we do see the waning moon coming in. Ray taking one, preventing one. the Constellus now at 4. And that looks like that will do it for that turn.
Looking really
We
good on
have-
Brody's side here too, having that energy potion, because that sitting here, especially with how the damage is being thrown on both sides, that is essentially just 2 life at instant speed on the board. So when we actually like are looking at our equipment, our armor block, and kind of like gauging where it is with our life total and everything, that's just 2 life. That's an energy. That's the healing potion from Everfest, but at instant speed right now. They can also play things for you. So Brody just has so much room to work with going into the rest of his turn right here.
Yeah, Brody attacked with an E-Strike for 7. Ooh, he loses the Channel Lake Frigid after E-Strike for 7, blocked for 6, taking 1. Channel Lake Frigid off the board. Now Ray playing an Amulet of Ice from Arsenal, I believe, on his turn. And we have, and it looks like they're having a brief conversation as well about what's going on there. If that was in Arsenal, it'd be okay. So he did. It was played on his turn. So the Amulet of Ice on the board. Ray arsenals and passes and draws up. Does look like now Brody plays his own Amulet of Ice once more on his turn. Coming from hand.
Yeah, that's a pretty good play as the Icelander, like seeing and just giving the other opposing Icelander the ability to now respond to this. It's like you see Amulet of Ice on the board. What do you want to do? You know, what do you have here? Especially if they even try for like a bigger turn here, you want to respond before this is in play, so that if they do like some crazy chilling Ice Vein turn or what have you, where they're doing a fusion, they're not also going to get the benefit of this before you've played out what your game plan is going to be, because this won't actually be in play, won't be able to be used yet.
Absolutely. But it does look like we're getting to the point of the game where each of them have to start deciding what kind of lines they want to play. As they'll be going into the tank for these turns, trying to math out what they can do. I got to imagine right now that it's Brody's turn. He's on 14 now. Ray is at 11, but he's got 5-card hand, the 2 Amulets of Ice, and the Insidious Chills. Can he deal 14 plus damage to Brody, and can he potentially strip Brody of his hand before he starts dealing that arcane damage?
I do wonder if that's the question that these players want to be asking. Is it how do I strip their hand, or is it how do I maximize the turn I'm going to have right now in damage enough to where I'm dealing damage and having enough cards in hand going into this next cycle to also prevent that damage? I am very unsure. I don't even know when I look at this board state here, I feel like I would want to be on the side that has the energy potion. That just feels really good to me. You have a life lead right now, but both sides just have so much. You make the wrong move, I'm gonna just explode, and there's probably gonna be no room for you to actually like feasibly come back after that. Ooh,
Brody played
chilling or Insidious Chill.
Yeah, and another Insidious Chill, so his board state is getting back up. I do believe it was an Amulet of Ice. I thought, did I have a fever dream that an Ice Bolt came in, or a frosting as well, or something? I feel like arcane damage was dealt as part of this, but I think I'm just seeing a bunch of blue cards now. But we do see the Amulet of Ice, the Insidious Chill with 3 counters, the frosting being pitched to play for it. It does look like Ray potentially has the priority here. Got to weigh his options. Brody at 1 card in hand, so can't prevent a ton of arcane if he's got it. Ray looking for. He's got it's the Storm Striders that's the key there. You have some combination of a red Aether Ice Vein and an Emeritus Scolding and a Waning Moon at the right time, and that is what 5, 9, 3, 12. 5, 9, 3 is 12. 12 total damage. I don't know what else you can do on top of that. I suppose Metacarpus Nodes adds how much? +3 total. If
I think
you had it.
the most Icelander can even hope to think of, in my opinion, is if they're playing a red Emeritus Scolding. They are playing that from hand with the Striders. They're playing another blue Emeritus Scolding from Arsenal, and then following that up with 3 from the Waning Moon, and that's effectively 13.
Yeah.
The more I'm actually looking at this mirror too, and just kind of like trying to put my visualize what each player is thinking of, I'm also thinking now that this breaking the Storm Striders first, and how dangerous that could be, because we haven't seen a lot of these. We've seen 2 yellow Ice Veins on Ray's side and blue Ice Veins on Brody's side here, but we haven't seen any red Ice Veins, if memory serves me right. And now a red Ice Vein, right? If you're the first one to break Storm Striders, that means you've effectively just gotten rid of 2 of your Arcane Barrier. You can't block 5 anymore. So to be the first one to do that, if your opponent has that red just waiting to just demolish your whole turn with these Amulets of Ice they have, their Insidious Chill counters, the effect of the card itself, I'm actually waiting for the first person who does that. I almost think that something like that is going to happen.
And Ray, instead of trying to math out arcane damage over multiple sources, goes to smack an E-Strike down for, it looked like 7.
Yeah, that was for 7.
And then a Sigil comes through to gain 3 life. So Brody now at 10, and Ray taking back some of the life and going to 14 himself, and ending. They should draw up it because that is his turn. So I think perhaps Brody contemplating his own actions here while he has priority before he draws up.
Yeah, anytime you think you can sneak a little bit of extra damage in, especially when you have so much agency to do so right here, it's definitely worth a thought. Makes you wonder what he could have in Arsenal, though. We haven't really seen too much high damage blues or reds yet. We've seen the yellows in the Ice Vein so far, but...
And there's the red.
There
we
see the first one.
Yes, this is on his turn. So the red Aether Ice Vein coming through, the Insidious Chill. Oh, is there 2 of them?
Yeah, he has 2 Insidious Chills.
Yeah, okay. So 2 Insidious Chills ticking down. It looks like that one over by the graveyard's confusing me. I don't know if he still got a counter or if he was putting that into the bin. But that is, it looks like a thing. So we do have, looks like 2 triggers from Insidious Chills and from the Aether Ice Vein on the stack here. So I guess the 2 Insidious Chill triggers first, and then we'll look at how he deals with the Aether Ice Vein. So cards.
These will be very interesting blocks because he's still got the Amulet of Ice ready to just pounce on whatever we might see here.
And Brody in that danger territory, so he's got it doesn't look like he's got any resources available. He has a card in Arsenal. So to your point, the E-Pot could potentially be a game changer here, but it still costs 1, right, to activate Storm Striders.
And whatever we have in Arsenal here, we could just see it cost 0 potentially. I don't think we're gonna see the energy potion get blown up here, especially since we have the Constellus online.
Sure. And I mean, if anything, if I'm Ray, I'm doing the math right now to see if I can respond before I have to deal with the Insidious Chill triggers, and use those cards instead of discarding them or pitching them to the effect.
It could,
Am
it
I
honestly could
am I
be that
close?
E-Pot right now that might be saving him, because I do believe that Icelanders run Emeritus Scolding blues at least. So if that's like a blue Emeritus in there, blue Emeritus in hand, and the Waning Moon, like that would effectively kill Brody right here. But with that energy pot on the board, like he's still at 1, even if they want to go for that line. And that's not even telling what Brody will be able to do after they draw up and do their thing to them as well. So yeah, they might have it, but there's just that energy pot is gonna keep them right over the line.
Yep, the energy pot proving to be a timely a timely play, and at the time, unpunished by getting that E-Pot out of Arsenal. Usually you want to see those ice cards. Ray did not have, didn't have anything major happening where, Brody was punished for not having the ice in Arsenal to gain that frostbite. But it does look like Ray is still he's hovering over. He's hovering over the Stormstriders, which means he's thinking he might have enough here.
They're making decisions, everyone. They are making decisions.
So very much very much a potential end game situation here. Is if Ray, I don't know how experienced Ray is on Icelander, but we're in the World Championships here. No slouches. If he goes to break Stormstriders, I gotta imagine it's because he is very confident in his ability to deal 10 arcane through whatever Brody might defend. And here we see it. There's the blue Emeritus being pitched.
There's the blue Emeritus. I felt like this whole game, like I am just calling
and
the cards
another
that
one
are going to be seen.
Yeah, but it is in the pitch, so it'd be interesting to see if it's in an Arsenal too. But we do see the red Aether Ice Vein being fused with the Polar Blast, the Metacarpus node. Oh, we're walking it back. We're walking it back.
Very
Spurlock is
interesting.
saying something. Spurlock is saying no. Why can't he do that?
I mean,
Is
after
there-
seeing the hand right here, I don't even really know why they're going for it. Especially if they're going to fuse, that's just going to take an Insidious Chill counter away for presumably no reason.
That's a very good point. Well, I mean, I wonder if he thinks he can deal 10 plus. Maybe he's got the. I don't know why.
He may have also
Doesn't,
just realized
'cause he
that
has
with this play line, like I mentioned before, that he no longer has AB5. Like he has now negated his ability to actually do anything about this Chilling Ice Vein's damage in full. He can still block 3 of it.
Brody is responding to the Stormstriders with an Amulet of Ice break, which he can do because it's an instant, and Ray is responding to the red Aether Ice Vein, which has already been fused, and that would have been established before it's still a lair, but the fuse, I believe, is still accounted for here.
Yeah, the fuse should be accounted for here because it's as part of the cost to play the Chilling. So it should be reading that.
Okay, so the fused Ice Vein is on the stack. We see Ray broke Stormstriders, was gonna do stuff, but now we know that Brody went, hey, wait, don't put all your cards out here. I have priority, and has now moved the Amulet of Ice over and said, I think I'm gonna break this. Oh boy. So we are looking at Oh man,
Not really understanding why the chilling went back up at this point, unless he's trying to kind of show how the layers are working
this is
at the moment.
this is exactly what he's doing right now. So this is the order of operations, so
Brody,
to
you're
speak
saying.
here. So Brody is saying this is the stack right here. First, we're going to resolve the amulet device that is broken. Now you have to discard.
Oh, just wait. Just wait till the Icelander plays the blue out of their arsenal. Then we got a whole different mess on our hands.
I am barely holding on as it is. I can't handle any more complexity to this matchup. It does look like Ray still has. So Ray has pitched. So he does have 2 floating from the blue Emeritus. So he can use that to pay for the amulet device, which he has done. Amulet device is now destroyed and goes to the bin. The Storm Striders is now a lair that is broken.
Yep. So his next wizard non-attack
Yeah, but
is
he's
going
got
to be played as though it is an
paid
instant.
for it already. Okay. All right. So then the Insidious Chill resolves, apparently, and that forced him. A red Ice Vein got discarded. A Polar Blast is now being pitched. The red Aether Ice Vein and an Insidious Chill still happening. Okay. Insidious Chill ticks down. Hypothermia being pitched. There's 3 blue cards in
Ooh.
Ray's pitch, and a Waning Moon for 2.
We
Did
just
he
had a
break-
misplay right there.
Help me out.
Yeah, no. Ray only took 1 damage from the red Aether Ice Vein when they no longer had Striders, which had AB2, and was providing the other 2 of the 5 they had before. So now they only have 3.
All right. Well, it does.
It's a small hiccup. These things do happen
Mhm.
also in high level professional play. Like that, they had that
And
the
there's
ability
the
to do that
Emeritus
the
of his
entire
own,
game.
Of his own. Ooh, here we go. So Ray's hand is empty. We see the Emeritus Scolding coming in from Arsenal, the Metacarpus node, adding on top of that, bringing interesting. Okay, here we
Another
go.
Emeritus. Will we see
the
it?
Storm Strider and a Frosting. What is happening in the Emeritus Metacarpus node? Is there's some I have no idea what's happening, folks, but arcane things are happening. Ray is at 4. The Frosting hits, it looks like, and the Waning Moon hits to bring him down 2-0.
Oh,
Ray
boy.
punished so hard. And the Frost Hex, he does have a Frostbite on top of that, so the Frost Hex brings him to 0. Holy moly. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know where I am, what is happening, or truly what just happened, but Brody Spurlock at 10 life takes it over Ray Lamb in the Icelander mirror in the ultimate punish play, right? The just when Ray thought that he had it, right? He thought it was his moment, and it happens every once in a while. You get those items on board and you stick them in the corner, and out of sight, out of mind, right? Break Storm Striders thinking that you have your line set up, and all of a sudden that item that's been just sneaking there in the corner comes back, and Brody was able to say, hey, wait, we're gonna do this right, and you pass priority to me, and I'm going to ruin your entire day here by breaking this open.
Yeah, and exactly like how I was stating earlier with the potential that we could see within this match. Breaking those Storm Striders there was able to leak just that extra little bit of damage they weren't able to deal with, which ultimately put them right in that kill shot range for Brody. That 5 damage from Emeritus, another 2 damage from the Frosting into the Waning Moon, and just come in with that 1 extra on the Frostbite. The Waning Moon should have killed, I'm pretty sure, though, after the damage had been dealt. But we're still here, bro. You got the win. Everything's copacetic.
And look, folks, I am I'm trying to be better, more well-rounded. I was actively scouring my Icelander deck for the card names as we're going, so I can better understand what is happening there. And what is happening indeed. All right, so we find ourselves in a unique situation here. We are 2 hours into our stream for the FTC Championship here. It is now 1-1, which means we are guaranteed to at least have a game 4, and that means that we will have one more game tonight, and we will stream the finish here Sunday night. Here, so Sunday night, FTC Championships Part 2. We will find out who gets a third win here, and we'll do it at the same time, 8 p.m. Eastern, Sunday night. So stick around. We have one more game here. We're gonna take a quick break, but we have one more game coming up tonight, and then we will continue the championship series Sunday night at 8 o'clock. We'll be right back.
Right back with that action.
Welcome back, everybody, to the FTC Championship. And as we just discussed before the break here, night one, night two will be Sunday night at 8 o'clock Eastern to see who gets it. So tonight we're going to figure out who goes up 2-1 and play a deciding, at least one deciding game Sunday night. So very exciting stuff. Jesse, I have to admit, I'm much more of a Mr. Heat Miser when it comes to calling mirror matches. So I want to thank you for dragging me along, kicking and screaming on the Icelander. For one, I'm not a Frost Miser guy.
No worries, man. I was just regurgitating a lot of like what I see and just the play patterns that were existing in my mind as I tried to like even think about what was potentially still in the hands of these players. A lot of blues were to be had, less reds. So it was just calling out like, how are we going to see mass arcane damage? How are we going to see these striders play out? And it's just kind of like, if you've been playing an Icelander, which you have, if you've been playing competitive Flesh and Blood lately, you probably noticed a lot of that, the same play lines I was talking about.
And as I showed off, I am trying to learn Icelander. So I have sleeved it up in an attempt to get a little more well-rounded. We'll see how that goes. Jesse, guess who sponsors this tournament and this stream? Can you?
If I was throwing a guess out, I would have to say probably the beautiful and illustrious Fab Foundry.
You are correct. You are absolutely correct. That is a great guess. This stream and this tournament is brought to you by Fab Foundry. Go to fabfoundry.co right now if you are in the market for Flesh and Blood singles, and some of them are going through the roof. So now's the time. Some of them maybe kind of past the peak. Get the, if you're going to speculate, get in on the ground floor on all your assassin stuff that's not surgical extraction. People, I'm telling you, it's the wave of the future. Mm-hmm. We're gonna have 3 assassins to build in Dynasty, but get those assassin cards at fabfoundry.co and use the discount code Team Cup 10 to get 10% off of that purchase. The proceeds of which help turn the lights and mics up and running here for this tournament and more to come. So Team Cup 10 over at fabfoundry.co. All right, we've got one more coming up here. We are going to we're essentially our main event of the evening is going to be Michael Fang versus Kelvin Law. Two super heavy hitters. I don't think we've been able to grab Fang and put him on stream here, but we've been lucky enough to get the game footage here, and we are going to see Michael Fang on his trademark Oldham here against Kelvin Law on his trademark Dash List. So a super exciting matchup here. Typically pretty polarizing, but Michael Fang is not just any Oldham player.
A lot of stuff is happening on screen right now, which I think will all make sense as we flip, as both sides flip their equipment here, and we see everything going.
Space-time continuum here.
Yeah.
And let's check out the equipment suite for both heroes here. Michael Fang on Oldham is running the Crown of Seeds, Findale Spring Tunic, and Snapdragon Scalers. Pay attention to that. Fang and Kelvin both drawing 18 cards apiece. Crater Fist as the arm piece for Oldham. Winter's Wail is the weapon of choice for Oldham Grandfather of Eternity, and the Stalagmite, something of Eisenloft as the name. I'm drawing a blank on the rest of it, but thank you, production truck. Stalagmite, Bastion of Eisenloft is the shield here. We see on the Dash's side, the Crown of Providence is the headpiece. The Tekla Foundry Heart is the chest piece. The Achilles Accelerator on the feet, and the Goliath Gauntlet on the arms. And we do see the pistol and an induction chamber as the items starting out. Both heroes start out at 40 here, and we will get organized shortly. We do have Michael Fang is, of course, the Oldham player on the left in blue, and Kelvin Law is the Dash player on right. Both of these players known for playing these heroes, so we're really going to watch two masters of their respective heroes duke it out in what is typically a pretty Dash favored matchup.
Yeah, and two things to look at here as we go into this game. Both on both sides of our equipment suites here, we have the Snapdragons on Michael's side. I'm presuming that those are going to be for Enlightened Strike plays, potentially a Snatch. Snatch less so than the E-Strike. I think they're just for the E-Strikes. And then on Kelvin's side here, since we're seeing the Goliath Gauntlet and the Crown, we can guarantee there will be no attempt to go Nitro Mechanoid here.
And Michael starting things off very strongly here with a red glacial footstep. I believe that comes in for 10, and a fuse with the Winter's Bite. The fuse giving it dominate, so taking 7 right off the bat. The throttle coming in to block, and Michael being able to arsenal and draw up. And I do believe you're right. I'll tell you what, Jesse, if he plays a Snatch here this game, I owe you a Coke. Because that would be something special to see. So we see the power of Guardians in general. We see a dominated attack on turn 0, leaking 7 damage through. So Dash already starting on a very bad back foot. The Spark of Genius coming out. We see looks like he pitched 4. I believe X is 2, so you're gonna be looking for a 2 cost. Likely a plasma purifier or another induction chamber to start assembling Exodia, as it were.
Yeah, and when we look at the trade we just saw, we did see 7 damage, turn 0, get thrown at Law here. But what we're seeing is just the Power Rangers coming together, forming into that Megazord, and this is exactly what Dash wants to see. We want to be shooting 2 all the time, building those induction chambers, essentially getting that pistol to about 4 damage. 5 is possible with the purifiers, but I would say it's not seen as much as just the 2. But once we get that engine going, we have purifiers on the table, we have inductions on the table. Things are just kind of over for this Oldham at a certain point. So we're just trying to, once we hit that point, Kelvin's gonna be good.
And it does look like there was a little TTS, a little glitch that may have resulted in some cards being placed incorrectly. So it did look like they replaced them. They shuffled the deck and continued play here. The Oldham from Arsenal playing the Winter's Bite. I believe it is a discard or pay 1. The red pitched throttle being used. And we see another Glacial Footstep coming in. Coming in for 10. This time not fused. But still just massive chunks of damage coming in immediately here as Oldham. If there was ever a way to get ahead on this usually unfavored Dash matchup, I gotta imagine getting Dash down to 26 on the second turn is a way to do that.
I am floored at what is going on with TTS for these players right now.
Yeah,
they're drawing cards up like crazy.
You know what that is? That is it's got to be a little lag. You can see that their ping doesn't look too bad, but usually something like that happens when you press you press 4 and it doesn't happen. You press 4 again and all of a sudden it happens all at once. So then you're drawing 8 cards. Sometimes you're drawing 44, depending on when that was recognized.
And just to point out, even though we may not need to point it out here, we did see a missed activation of our Tunic on Michael's side that turn, which hopefully that won't come back too hard to bite him in the butt.
Yeah, that Tunic pivotal in the Oldham strategy, trying to get the crown. You usually use that for Crown of Seeds, so you don't have to pitch a card in the process. It does look like they. What is happening with these cards? There's something about TTS going down. They're both doing it, so it's got to be something like in the in the system itself that's getting a little wonky here.
Yeah. Not really sure why he's showing all the
unfortunate.
cards.
That is a good question as well. Is he going to give it another shuffle, perhaps? And 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So 4 cards in. So we do see a plasma purifier onto the board. So the Exodia pieces are in fact coming together. I believe it's typical to run 2 plasma purifiers and 3 induction chambers to get. I think at maximum Exodia you can usually get 12 damage a turn, 12, 15 damage a turn. Yeah, one of those. You can attack usually 4 times. So depending on how many plasma purifiers you have.
I think you would want to be at... Well, because once you hit so many cards, having 2 inductions, 2 plasmas, that means you need 7 resources to really actualize that whole turn. So you need 3 cards in hand.
Yeah.
So it does hit a point where how you're balancing all those resources does kind of like... It does control a bit of things. I honestly think with how we've seen block so far, I think that's a plasma purifier in Arsenal. I think we're gonna just see Law just play that out and pass turn.
We've seen Michael now. This is the 3rd red attack in a row. We did see Kelvin block it and still get hit for 1, but Oldham coming in hard and fast with these big chunky attacks. And in my experience, you don't usually see the red glacials and the red thunderquakes. I know they make some appearances, but we're seeing them here for sure. Kelvin loading up the chambers and firing the pistol. Firing the pistol just for the 2 with his last resource. So not activating everything, as you mentioned. It is resource heavy to make everything work.
Yeah, that's pretty good too. Because at this point, if they want to be able to shoot the pistol 3 times on the next turn, they only need 1 card to do that, and that's a blue pitch card. So they'll potentially have the chance to just throw a bunch of blocks at what we see here.
So
Rouse.
we see Arouse the Ancient of a channel like Frigid being pitched to pay for it, and in Endless Winter and Cranial Crush for showing a total of 16 power, which definitely turns on Rouse the Ancients for that, and using the Tunic to gain a resource and a 1-card pitch to attack a follow-up with Endless Winter, which comes in for 8, has a fuse ability, but no fuse there. A killer turn there. That's 7-8. There's another 15 damage being presented. And TTS, I'm sure these guys are ready to throw it out the window here, but necessary evils in order to play these games when you want to play them.
And also have an easy to follow turn by turn structure of how these things are actually working too.
No, most definitely. The Teklo core coming out now for Kelvin, or that must have been there originally. Okay, it looks like they
played it after the Endless Winter.
Okay. I thought they rewound it a bit. I believe this is a new Rouse the Ancient, but showing another Endless Winter and an Enlightened Strike this time for 13, which I believe is just at the cutoff to make it a 7 go again. We see 6 block coming in to block the Rouse, taking 1, going to 18. Kelvin blocking 1, then taking the E-Strike coming in.
Man, we're seeing a lot of blocks be thrown out on Kelvin's side here. But that's pretty much what this dash is actually trying to go for. Block out a bunch of these heavy turns, potentially have, they may even be running immovables here for these, big, super big damage swingy turns that the Oldham's capable to deal with here. And then just try to just keep shooting pistol. And we're just gonna walk down these stairs nice and slow. This is an escalator. These are nice, slow stairs.
Never been a big fan of taking stairs. Love the convenience of an escalator. I'm a big guy as it stands. I should use more stairs. But we did see a pistol activation with a pistol shot. The plasma purifier and one induction chamber was activated. So Oldham now at 32, but Dash sitting at 18. So a pretty substantial life difference brought to you by several just chonky attacks coming repeatedly by Michael. We've seen a red glacial footstep followed by a red thunderquake, followed by a red glacial footstep, followed by a rouse the ancients into an endless winter, and then another rouse the ancients into an enlightened strike. The last 4 turns in a row here, and we see a blue winter's bite with the discard or pay effect, the Tome of Findel being used to pay that cost, and another red chonky attack. I believe this one comes in for 10 as well. The red thunderquake coming in and is being blocked for a total of 10, 2-3 blocks for 6 and a sink below to make sure that no life is lost. But Oldham gets the arsenal and passes. Kelvin gets 2 resources from the Teklo core, is using the resources to load up the pistol and the plasma purifier. 1 steam counter removed from the pistol, looking to fire it off. We see Kelvin. It looks like Kelvin's thinking about something. All right, he's just simply not moving the pistol up at the moment, but the pistol coming in for 2. Michael Feng is taking it, and we are passing the turn. Kelvin draws up, and now is at 5, has the card in arsenal. And wouldn't you know it, another glacial footsteps by Michael Feng coming in from the arsenal. We see no fuse here, but there's a tunic, and there's 2 cards in hand, which is, if I'm Kelvin, I'm worried about a pummel right now to really just ruin my day. And there's a resource. There's an Okanold.
Oh, the
and a
pummel
red
you were just
pummel.
talking about?
Oh boy! So coming in for a total of 14. I believe that was 9 blocked total.
Yep.
So an additional 5 and losing the card that was in his hand as part of the hit here.
Man, and Michael is just non-stop throwing like every haymaker possible at Kelvin. Like Kelvin is playing to the strategy the Dash wants to play into Oldham perfectly. They are doing pretty much everything how they should be doing. And Michael's over here just, he's seeing that and being like, that's great and all. How about you take 10 more damage? How about that?
Yeah, and now we've seen all 3 red glacial footsteps be played in the first 6 turns here, which is, as much as high rolling, tempo Oldham can do. This is, he has done it. 2 red thunderquake. He's been able to 30 to 13 life lead here in the 3rd match of the FTC Championship, facing the Runaways, facing off against Team Gold USA versus Hong Kong. Michael Feng on Runaways, Kelvin Law from Team Gold facing off here in the last match of the night for the championship. One team will be up 2-1 when we end here, and we will continue the series Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern.
A good thing to note, too, as we leave the last turn cycle where we saw that last red glacial footsteps, is we did see Michael pitch a blue Macho Grande. So we can surmise that there are 3 more blue Macho Grandes in there. And with the armor we see, and assuming that we're going to get a card block every time one of those comes out, if we can just whittle the Dash down just a little bit more, if we get like 3-4 more damage and we're able to see all 3 of those Machos, this game's over. We know one's at the bottom, and we can surmise that there are probably 3 in the deck total.
That would be a safe surmising if I had to bet. We do see the Frosty Hammer coming in by Oldham. And what was that? Was that a reinforced the line?
That was a reinforced line.
Okay. Doth mine eyes deceive me? And a heaved pulverize at the end of the turn. Oh boy.
Making those 3 seismics. Like, this is going to be a big
3
turn.
seismic surges. Yep. Draws up. He's got a hand. Did not go over the top to 18 cards. So Kelvin now is really in the Badlands here. Shooting the pistol, unloaded the steam counter from the plasma purifier to give it the +1, so it is coming in for 3. The blue has been pitched. There's 1 resource floating. The induction chambers are ready to be activated as reactions. But man, I'll tell you what, Michael Fang has done just about everything right that you can in this game in order to keep Dash on its back foot. And there we see as the attack reaction, the induction chamber is used. The resource pitch to load the steam counter again onto the pistol. Additional resource used to load the steam counters on the induction chamber and the plasma purifier. Still 1 remaining. The pistol unloading the steam counter, coming in for another 3. Michael Fang taking it, going to 24 as a reaction. So this is a little out of sequence, but this happens all the time, right? They're shortcutting. So as a reaction, the induction chamber, the second induction chamber used, the pistol likely to fire off another time. And we see the block from the Crater Fist in that instance there. Now Kelvin's done, draws up, and Fang, a 5-card hand with a pulverize in arsenal and 3 seismic surges, and we start off with an enlightened strike coming in. I have to imagine this is going to come in for 7. This is all about power right now. The Snapdragon Scalers are there, likely to be snapped right away. TTS.
I was actually thinking that it was going to be coming in for go again, which I believe we are seeing, or the draw card, hoping and praying that card they draw is a blue, so they can actually send that pulverize. I think they got stuck with 2 reds in hand.
Very interesting, but here it is, the Snapdragon Scalers, right? They coming in for 5. Got the card draw, Snapdragon Scalers giving it go again. The seismic surges are broken, and we're going to come in with a red Thunderquake. So the 3 seismics plus the blue and the pulverize. The pulverize is stuck, but he's still coming in for a good, healthy 10. It's real damage.
That damage is in fact real and on the board right as we speak. It definitely makes me wonder, because these high level players, as the games are going on, they're seeing the cards that we're pitching. They're just keeping track of everything. That's their game plan. That's what they do. So they should be knowing that we see Macho Gran is in this deck. We see cards with Dominate, and we can't drop below certain thresholds. So when we see another 10 coming our way, even if it's going to stop all the momentum we have with our game plan, sometimes we just gotta block,
Yeah, absolutely. Because at some point, I mean, even now, I mean, this has been an incredibly painful situation for Kelvin to have to deal with, blocking with 2 Pulse Wave Harpoons in that turn, as well as every other card in his hand. The Pulse Wave kind of chilling out there. I don't know what's going on. Okay, Kelvin had no turn, pass priority, drew up, and now we're back to Michael Fang, who has a Tunic, a Pulverize, and 4 cards. There's a blue. There's another blue. There's another blue. He's coming in for 14. Man,
we see the big dog himself get played.
Pulverize is out.
I anticipate full hand here, full block.
There's a 2 block, unfortunately, with the Tome, but we do see the Pulse Wave and Spark of Genius coming out to stave off some of the bleeding here. The reinforce the line.
Oh, there it is.
Kelvin Law
Oh my
coming in
goodness.
with the spice. You know, at the very least, he's got that one going for him. A nice touch there. Kelvin's turn, simply a Teklo core and pass. So he does have the resources on the board. But man, the Michael Fang is the conductor of the pain train today, and he is just not relented. And once again, he is presenting a 5-card hand. He has just completely filled his deck with every heavy hitter that you can think of, and to great effect. And here's the Oakenold, and there's Earth. I haven't seen an Earth card. He has it. He's got the natural fuse right here. Of course, Pulse of Eisenloft banned in the last banned and restricted, but we see Oakenold fused with an Earthlore Surge and a Cold Snap. So we're looking at, oh god, what is it now? It's 7-9 dominate on hit. Put 2 cards on the bottom of the deck.
Yep.
It's craziness.
But I mean, we could see another reinforce the line here, armor block. Could the idea that they are going to take 6 damage here? There's no way. It can't be. It can't be.
And oh man, are they? They're thinking long and hard about how the rest of their life is about to occur. And he's going, did you fuse that? I did. Here it is. Oh, what is he asking? Okay, did he fuse and then pitch with that fuse? That cold snap was shown. So unless he has 2 cold snaps, he would not have been able to pitch it in order to play it. And I think that is the discussion happening right now.
Yeah, very weird for him to show the Earthlore Surge and not the other ice, if that was from hand, if that is what they were.
Does look like the issue has been resolved. The Oakenold hitting.
Oof! Ouch.
3 cards out. Well, he's showing 3 cards. They're randomizing the 2 cards that will be removed or put to the bottom here. But the red throttle was used to block. He keeps 1. He loses a blue T-bone and an energy pot. Probably could use the blue pitch. The no block in hand had to have hurt.
Yeah, they go to the bottom, right?
Yes. You're right.
Okay,
I make this mistake all the time. But they sure do. They go to the bottom, I believe in any order. They have that ability. And Michael Fang arsenals and passes turn. Kelvin Law at 2. Michael Fang at 23. Oh man. I'm not a cynical person here, but
I don't know if Kelvin's out of it yet. I'm just gonna say it.
I like that optimism. Why not? Why not Kelvin? Why not now? There's the plasma purifier being activated, a blue pitch being pitched, so Teklo-Core giving resources, a blue pitch in hand giving resources, and we are going to see the pistol firing off. So the indication being that tilted plasma purifier is going to boost it, so we'll have +1 coming in for 3.
And what we're seeing here, especially with them activating the plasma first and then pitching to load plasma before going into this, is they're trying to prevent the Oldham from ice reacting them and having them put that blue back on top. And actually right here, what we're seeing is honestly 100% of what I thought we'd see. Because we're going to have this frostbite come out now, we're effectively stopping the 3rd attack that's going to happen, because they're going to have to pay 2 into their next pistol shot here, or they're actually going to have to pay 1 into activating induction and then the 1 for pistol. But that effectively negates damage. It's on the board to do it again potentially if we're seen in the same situation. Very good play on Michael's end right here.
Yeah, it seems like he's an experienced Oldham player who's won at high levels and has made the right equipment choice for the matchup, and it shows up. Is it in hand at the moment? Probably. but still showcasing the value of the stalagmite into this match. Kelvin draws up. We see the earth pitch, and we see the second, very important, the second cold snap being played. Right, that first one was pitched, so there was 2 cold snaps. One was in Arsenal, but that is going to come in from Arsenal, which means he gets to draw a card. He still has 2 floating, and the world is his oyster. I bet he's gonna hit hard with a red attack, perhaps even with dominate. We haven't seen all the Macho Grandes.
I don't think we've seen the one that got pitched, and
Yeah.
I don't believe we've seen another one since. So yeah, if we throw Macho Grande out and they only have a 3 block in hand, they're blocking full armor, going to 1, and we see another one. At that point, it's basically game, unless they have block 3rd reinforce and the last block on Teklo there.
Oh, it certainly would be spicy to see the 3rd reinforce. That's for sure. Oh, Fang looking around his hands, seeing how he can best effectively end the game. He has been just relentless all game with powerful attack after powerful attack, not allowing Kelvin even one opportunity to really get stabilized here, and that has resulted in our game state right now. Michael Feng of Team Runaways at 19 life against Kelvin Law of Team Gold, who sits at a precarious 2. And it is Michael Feng's turn, and he had played a cold snap from Arsenal, pitching the Earthwar Surge. So he has the 2 floating resources. He was able to draw a card to bring back up to 4. And Fang just in the tank now, thinking long and hard, as we have the combat chain like to say, about his turn, because if he does this right, it is simply over.
And again, I'm not going to sit here and question high-level game, the people who are playing this high-level gameplay. But when I look at what Michael just did, playing the cold snap, that only has an effect on the arsenal itself, and he's drawing the card, and it costs 1 to play it, which effectively would have just been like pitching to Crown of Seeds, right? But
yeah, for sure, right?
The cold snap.
Likely, I get what you're saying. That's a very good point.
I only say that because this matchup specifically is going to be a fatigue matchup. That dash is fatiguing this Oldham right now. And to assume that they can't deal 2 more damage in, probably 10 more turn cycles is probably pretty low, but I don't know. Makes me wonder.
We actually saw an Earthwar Surge being played there, followed by an Autumn's Touch. So all the Earth cards coming in for that one, but it was blocked with equipment and 2 cards from hand. So Kelvin, sitting at 2, was able to save himself from lethal with an efficient block here with equipment and 2 cards, and the pistol is gonna do some work. So we do see it coming in for 3. The reaction for the induction chamber to give it go again, firing off another time, coming in for 3 once more. 1 resource remaining. Stalagmite coming in to block for 1. Yes, and then taking 2. Michael Fang is the frostbite generated from the stalagmite will end the turn for Kelvin, who arsenals and passes back to Fang, who starts with the tunic up and a 5-card hand. And there's a blue pitch and an Oakenold. I don't see any fuse though, but there are plenty of cards in hand. You have to expect the pummel coming out of this if he's got it. You have to respect it if you're Kelvin. But either way, you have to block for at least 11 here. And I get, even depending on what he's got, this is ripe for a double pummeling to end the game.
Yeah, and on Michael's end too, it's just I'm going to send 7 here. If you block 2 cards, I leak a damage. If you block more than that, well, I've made your blocks way less valuable on your side, and it's just going to make my next turn even better.
Yeah, and we see the Sparky Genius in a zipper hit used to block, as well as the Crown of Providence. Will he do more? No, he lets the Crown of Providence filter through. So that is coming in. So that is an 8 blocking on 7. Kelvin saying, kill me if you can. And there is the red pummel being pitched, the blue Autumn's Touch, getting the +4 up to 11. And a sink below.
Ooh.
A sink below coming in. +4 going to 12. So the Kelvin saves himself. Blocking 12 on 11. The tunic resource being used. The double pummel! The double pummel!
But the unmovable.
He's got the unmovable.
I knew it had to be in there.
What a sequence! Oh man, Shang. Michael Fang thought he had it. I thought so too. The double pummel coming in for Kelvin to slap right back and say, not today. Not
That's
today.
so good for Kelvin. We're out of pummels.
Yeah,
That's
the red
all
pummels
3.
are gone. Now, he's still got a bunch of chunky attacks that he has to deal with here. The cranial crush now coming in for 8 with a crush effect. That is irrelevant, I think, at this point. But we do see. Are we seeing equipment? Oh,
hey,
and we see
the
there it is.
reinforce.
Another. They reinforce the line. +4 going on 7, taking 1 damage down to 1. Oldham Arsenals.
With how this just played out right here. Oh, that's a plasma. Okay.
Exodia is basically online, missing 1 induction chamber, really, but this is as good as it gets. So Kelvin Law at 1 life precariously, handing the fabled gem of Vala something. I'm gonna mess that up. But a Tome of Harvest coming in. The gem of Valahai coming in, creating a seismic surge token, but being used to play the Tome of Harvest, which takes the Arsenal card, puts it at the bottom, and allows you to draw 3 cards out of it. So Oldham now presents 5 cards in a seismic surge token to Kelvin's 4. Pummels are gone. He may have some blues in here, but there's the Macho Grande. After it was all said and done, we're gonna come in for 8 dominate.
Now we could see Kelvin survive this. He's at 1, but if we have red unmovable in hand and that Teklo block.
Oh, there's the blue. There's another blue, a red. No.
Oh, I think he's just showing off. Yeah. Okay, yep. I believe that is game.
I believe so. Yep, everyone's showing their hands there. Wow. Michael Fang taking it as Oldham over Kelvin Law. Man, you know what? That was as good old JR used to say about Stone Cold, stomping a mud hole into Kelvin for a majority of that game. But man, what an incredible sequence there at the end. Michael Fang had set up for that double pummel, and just when we thought that could have been it, the red unmovable comes out on top, and Kelvin saves himself. Delays the inevitable, unfortunately. Man, talk about going out on your shield. A valiant effort by Kelvin Law of Team Gold. But that means, Jesse, that the Runaways are up 2-1 as we conclude night 1 of the FTC Championship round.
Yeah, so we could see going into Sunday if the Runaways are able to take it first game, they win the whole thing.
That's
but
right.
That will be a tale for Sunday.
That will. The deciding game potentially will be played starting at 8 p.m. Eastern here on the FTC channel. Man, what a night of action. A quick recap here. Dan Rakowski versus Bunnar opening the night in a FI mirror match where we see Rakowski, the FI master, going down to Bun after an unfortunate sequence of card draws and actions on Dan's part. We saw then Brody Spurlock versus Ray Lamb in an Icelander mirror. Confused the hell out of me, but Brody took it, giving the Runaways. It was a fun game. Runaways taking one there. Series this series tied at 1-1 at that point, and then Michael Fang versus Kelvin Law in a slobber knocker, once again hijacking good old JR, but it seemed like Fang had that wrapped up with a pretty little bow, but man, Kelvin fought really, really hard. But ultimately, Runaways now up 2-1 as we head into the potential deciding game on Sunday night. Jesse, this man, I'm jazzed up is what I am. That I'm still the double pummel that made my day. It made me seem really smart that popped up there. I thought that was gonna be it, but man, that was
double
fun
pummel to also be stopped by an even bigger wall right in front of it, right?
Yeah, that was something to behold for sure. But that was excellent. All right, this stream and this tournament, for one more time, has been brought to you by Fab Foundry. So please go to fabfoundry.co and when you were purchasing Flesh and Blood singles, use the discount code Team Cup 10, and using that code will get you 10% off of that singles purchase. The proceeds of which will help keep the lights and mics up and running here for the tournament and for future tournaments and prize support. Thanks again to Fab Foundry. I think that we're going to start to close things out here. Jesse, thank you for coming on. We've been kind of flirting with doing some play-by-play together, and it hasn't quite worked out. I'm glad to
this
finally.
is the first day.
Yeah, it is. It's been penciled in, but it hasn't happened officially yet. So it has been fun to call these a couple games with you tonight. And before we go, where can we find you? Yeah, give us your stuff, your links.
So
handles,
right now, as you can see below,
this.
I'm at Chet McNasty. That's also my Discord handle for those of you that probably see me around floating on the Discords, posting stuff, whatever. Yeah, you can find me there on Twitter. You can find me at ST Collectibles on YouTube. I haven't posted there in forever, but once we get into skirmish season, that's Blitz is kind of becoming my new love child. So I'm excited for the skirmish content that'll be coming out.
Excellent. Kindred spirits. You and I are. I love myself some Blitz as well. I know we've had some discussions. You got some spicy decks.
We got randomly matched on Talishar time or two too. Yeah.
And fun game. I still have that deck. I am actually building that deck that you played me against, and my pieces are floating around here.
Gonna be that's what all the content's on is that deck.
Excellent.
I'm taking it. Yeah.
Excellent. Take it all the way. Be the change. I am Patrick Shaw of the Combat Chain. In my ears and in the production booth, just pretend there's a production booth behind me. But Adam Philipchuk has been there turning the gears as we go. Him and I make up the Combat Chain. You can find us on YouTube at the Combat Chain. We have a podcast. We have the Combat Chain podcast. We also just recently started a Marvel Snap podcast called After Turn 6. So check out both of those. You can find both of them wherever you stream your podcasts on all platforms available there. We do have a Patreon. If you want to support us, this is the best way to do that there. It is www.patreon.com/thecombatchain. And if you want to just support the channel and what we do, get a shout out on our podcast, or even get access to our exclusive team testing channel, go there and sign up today. And that would be greatly appreciated. I have a closing I usually do, but I'll save that for my channel. It has been, Jesse, once again, it has been great to call the games beside you. Thank you,
My
Adam.
pleasure.
You can find him at FAM Toolery TCG. You cannot see him, but that's where you can find him as well. And that is going to do it for us tonight. See you Sunday night, 8 p.m.
Yes.
Eastern. To where we will be crowning a champion for the Flesh and Blood Team Cup here on FTC, brought to you by Fab Foundry. Good night.
Good
Peace.
night, all. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
But